be exclusive, they would be separate. And so you're not going to use MECE on every single thing, but certainly when you're interacting with artificial intelligence and it's throwing suggestions at you, and next thing you know, you're working for it, and it feels like, right? So by using a MECE model, you can continue building your prompts in such a way, and you can even tell AI that you're building a MECE understanding of this, and you want it to help you do that. Now you can explore a complete idea, you can start separating them, and you can get this kind of a view. Now, I'm not saying AI is the end all be all. I think you want human intelligence, because especially when you're in the fields of infinite possibilities, AI doesn't really know what your vision is, what your strengths are. You may tell it, but it doesn't know it like you do. And it certainly doesn't know it like your collective senior team understands it. Now here's the other one, collectively exhaustive. So this is not collectively exhaustive, right? This is not exhaustive because you have idea one and idea two, but you can see when it's exhaustive, all of the blocks are filled up. So mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive, it's MECE. That took me, what, less than 3 minutes to explain. You can do some searches on it. You can read about it, try it out a few times, own it, teach it. And within a few hours, you can own this framework. And if everyone on your team owned the framework and you had the common language, do you see how that can help you with the next crisis that's coming up, or taking advantage of the next big opportunity? When I talk about development plans, we're taking this and moving it into nervous system memory the same way you would take a physical skill and move it into what we think of as muscle memory, but as I've already said, is really nervous system memory. Another example, I like using decision frameworks. And this one came from Ben Sands. I started collecting infographics on LinkedIn because, it's like motherhood and apple pie. You can't disagree with them, but there's so many that are coming constantly. How does one person know and understand everything that's in these different infographics? You can't. And so I started collecting them. I'm going to do a piece on it, because you don't need all of them. You just need a few. Now, on this one, for example, what we have here, so thinking hats. This is an interesting one. Use it when you need a rounded view from multiple angles, how it works. Each hat represents a way of thinking. So one person is a white hat, the facts and data. A red hat, emotions and gut feelings. Black is risks and caution. Yellow, optimism and benefits. Green, creativity and alternatives. Blue, organization and process. And then you rotate through the different hats and analyze your decisions from every perspective. Again, this is something that you can own across your senior leadership team. These are multiple decision models. You may have heard of SWOT. There's also the reverse TOWS, where you look at threats and opportunities first, and then you work through the SWOT, but you do it backwards because you're starting with the external view, not the internal. I like the 5 whys. This has been around. I remember hearing about this back in the big quality days, total quality management. But you don't need all of the frameworks on this page. You just need one. You need the one that works for you, that you're going to use, and then you turn it into a habit. And that's what I mean by the development plans. In the development plans, you're using the same kind of methodologies that are used in, say, martial arts, where people are having to demonstrate it, and they're having to use it under pressure. Like each time you build on it, you're reinforcing it. You're not just training something today and then you never touch it again. We're continuing to build on it. So for example, if I was using this framework as something that we did, then we would come back to the framework as we're developing our project plan, as we're describing scope. We would come back to that and have debates about scope using that HATS model. Or maybe you're doing it with something else, with one of the other decision-making models. Another one I like to use, and this has served well over the years, and that is the 2-axis framework. You can have profit and growth. It's a common one. And too often, if you just pay attention to the things that are coming across your feed, you will see that there's a bias towards growth. There's a bias towards revenue. Everyone wants to tell you how they could make you more money, but without looking at profit, you end up in a situation where your profit maybe from a dollar standpoint is growing, but from a percentage standpoint it's shrinking. And that's a dangerous place to be. I like to ask people for a low-cost solution, a no-cost solution, and an ideal solution. That's pushing the envelope. Again, that's a skill. That can be a thinking skill. Now, I said it, and you heard it, and you can apply it as, yeah, I like that. But to turn it into a habit, you have to apply neuroplasticity. The brain can adapt, and we can help it adapt. And neuroplasticity is what that's about, changing habits. Now, without the knowledge of neuroplasticity, habit formation was more difficult. We had this, 7 steps in 90 days and 120 days and 21 days, so many different viewpoints. And the reason is because there's 2 major parts that go with habit change. And I'll get into more of this next week, but it's the myelin on the neurons and it's the synaptogenesis, which activates neural pathways that are in play, and then it deactivates them. The myelin stays, so the habit core of the habit stays, and when the central nervous system senses that this thing is important, it will activate those neural pathways. Very common, like if you have any seasonal sports, whether it's hiking or skiing or something like that, you may notice you feel a little awkward the first time out for the season, the first day or 2 for the season, but very quickly it comes on. That's not the muscle adaptation as much as it is the nervous system adaptation. Different